Be the place to be is right here with me. It's another Random Topics Tuesdays only on channel GBoo2786, Facebook, and on Twitter, and on my other YouTube channel, Gavin Richard. You are tuning in to Gavin Richard Presents here on channel GBoo2786. Tonight we'll be discussing the following: Kobe Bryant's widow and parents, are they still beefing? We'll also be discussing Tamika, Mallory, and Symone Sanders, the lessons that we can learn from being a shield for the Democrats. Finally, we can also talk about the death of Andrew Brown Jr. No charges have been filed in regards to Andrew Brown's death. We'll be discussing that all and more tonight, only on channel GBoo2786, whoever you are, wherever you are. Hope you are blessed and doing safe. Of course, before we get started, we would like to go ahead and play a little music for you before our show begins. This is channel GBoo2786. This is Gavin Richard with Gavin Richard Presents. Let's get started. How is the music? Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Kevin Richard Presents here on channel GBoo2786. We're going to get started right now, and of course, we're going to talk about breaking news that was released earlier today. No charges will be filed in the wake of Andrew Brown Jr.'s death. That was the young black man that was killed in a police car, in his car, by North Carolina sheriff's deputies, uh, attempting to quote unquote execute a service warrant. This is the district attorney of the state, district attorney, I'm sorry, of that county. The district attorney's name escapes me right now. Wobble, I believe, is his name. Yes, this is District Attorney Andrew Womble. He said none of the deputies involved will be criminally charged in the fatal shooting of Andrew Brown Jr. So we're going to get started right now. And I'm going to play the 10-minute clip. I have not seen, what's going on, family? I have not seen the clip in its entirety, the video in its entirety, what I'm about to show you. I did see parts of it earlier today, and I did see a 1 minute piece that was put in place by CBS News. We're going to try and get some more people come in. Let me ask you something. For all of you, I see 4 people in here, but I want to know who actually gets notices to the live. I need to know who gets notices to the live. Give me a like or a thumbs up if you can. See one who cares is in the building, so he's always here. One who cares, or brother Steve Mack, who will come on in from time to time. Let me know if you're in the building, please, chat. Let me know if you're in the building. All right. We're gonna go ahead. Hold on a second. I'm gonna go ahead and play the video. So it seems like, but I'm trying to see who else is here. We got 7 people in the building. We got people on Periscope. We got people on Facebook. We got 5 in on YouTube here. Now, this is Andrew Womble. This is the district attorney of Pasquotank County out in North Carolina. Now, I want you to pay very close attention. This is a 10-minute clip. So I'm going to try and play it uninterrupted if I can. But there may be... What's up, Steve? So Donald says he gets notified. All right. I'm going to play the video. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and do it uninterrupted if I can. But the reason I may interrupt is because there are some things in here you might not catch that I want to catch on for all of you. My issue with this, and you're going to hear it earlier, is how this district attorney speaks in regards to this case. So I want you to please pay very close attention to just how he talks. What's up, pilots? Yes, I have a lot to say about this. I'm going to try to keep the show to at least an hour, but we got a few things to touch on. So let me go ahead. Let's play this clip from the beginning. It's 10 minutes long.
The deputies involved in the shooting incident have no prior excessive force complaints. The law is clear and long established. The United States Supreme Court, the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, and the North Carolina appellate courts have all held that where officers are attempting to make an arrest, deadly force may be used if it appears to be reasonably necessary to, first, protect against deadly force that the arrestee is using to resist arrest, or 2, to take into custody a person who presents an imminent threat of death or serious injury to others unless apprehended immediately. The North Carolina General Assembly has codified this case law in our general statutes at NCGS 15A 401D2, which I have attached to the press package. The United States Supreme Court has cautioned prosecutors may not employ the 2020 vision of hindsight, but must make allowance for the fact that police officers are often forced to make split-second judgment in circumstances that are tense, uncertain, and rapidly evolving.
That doesn't mean you get to be the public defender for the police department. So notice what he says in this video when he says that the Supreme Court has warned and cautioned that prosecutors are supposed to give discretion essentially to police officers when they have to make split-second decisions. That's something still a jury can decide. And yes, prosecutors have a duty to, as the attorneys of that district, of that county, of that parish, to decide what cases they will bring and what cases they can bring can bring before the court. That is still an issue as to the guilt or innocence of an officer to be decided by the trier of fact. These are the same tactics that they do and use with not just, and it's not in all police shootings that we have seen. They did it with Alton Sterling. They did it with Tamir Rice. They even did it with Ahmaud Arbery, and those weren't police officers. Travis and Gregory McMichael and Roddy Bryant were not cops when they murdered Ahmaud Arbery, or I should say allegedly murdered only because of legal purposes, but we saw the video. It is what it is. And remember in that county, Brunswick, in Georgia, that they actually wanted to, they passed the bucket between two different district attorneys. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about that fleeing felon rule. Now, there was a Supreme Court case called Tennessee versus Garner back in the 80s. And a justice has held that deadly force may not be used unless necessary to prevent the escape and the officer has probable cause to believe that the suspect poses a significant threat of death or serious bodily harm to the officer or others. So just because somebody is fleeing, like we saw with Deontay Wright, who was killed by that woman up in Minnesota when she thought that taser was her gun. The reason she's charged with manslaughter is because while Dante may have been fleeing, and yes, he may have had a warrant, that did not warrant shooting him to death. So let me finish playing the video, and the court case you can look at. Let me stop the screen for a second. Let me share it with you all. This is the case that I'm talking about incompletely. You can go on Wikipedia. You can look it up. It's the fleeing felon rule. And the case is Tennessee versus Garner. And it says, under the Fourth Amendment, law enforcement officers pursuing an unarmed suspect may use deadly force to prevent escape only if the officer has probable cause, only if to believe that the suspect possesses a significant threat of death or serious physical injury to the officer or others. So let me go ahead. Let's play the rest of this video and watch this district attorney essentially, or I should say defense attorney, because that's essentially what he comes off as. It's not as a DA. He comes off as a public defender. And bear in mind also, they're going to show the bits and pieces of the body camera footage. They have not released the whole thing to the public.
The law authorizes an officer to take preemptive action and use deadly force to prevent death or serious injury to himself or herself, provided that the threat assessment is reasonably made. Whenever officers use deadly force to defend themselves or to stop a dangerous fleeing felon, the determination of whether they properly used that force focuses on whether the totality of the circumstances as they appeared to the officers at the time of the killing were sufficient to create belief in a reasonable person standing in their shoes that such force was necessary. In short, assessing the reasonableness of the shooting requires examining the perspective of a reasonable officer on the scene. Consequently, my focus was on the relevant set of facts a reasonable officer in the deputy's position would have experienced. When weighing the degree of force used, a prosecutor must pay careful attention to the facts and circumstances of each particular case, including the severity of the crime at issue, whether the suspect poses an immediate threat to the safety of officers or others, and whether he is actively resisting arrest or attempting to evade arrest by flight. Using these parameters, I find that the facts of this case clearly illustrate the officers who used deadly force on Andrew Brown Jr. did so reasonably and only when a violent felon used a deadly weapon to place their lives in danger.
By the way, Andrew Brown, when they actually, after they killed him and opened up his car door, he had no weapons on him. However, what they're saying as the deadly weapon, as I'll play the video, was the car. That's the defense that they're using.
First, when assessing the severity of the crime at issue, Andrew Brown Jr. was being served with 2 felony arrest warrants and a search warrant. The law enforcement officers were duty-bound to stand their ground, carry through on the performance of their duties, and take Andrew Brown into custody. They could not simply let him go, as has been suggested. Additionally, Brown engaged in dangerous felony-level misconduct as he attempted to flee from law enforcement officers. The decision to flee, which Brown made on his own, quickly escalated the situation from a show of force to an employment of force. Brown's precise speed in attempting to flee and striking Deputy Lunsford is uncertain, but that he drove recklessly and endangered the officers is not uncertain. Therefore, I find that Brown's actions and conduct were indeed dangerous by the time of the shooting. Second, Brown was actively resisting arrest and attempting to evade arrest by flight before, during, and after the shooting. All officers had been briefed on Brown's previous interaction with law enforcement, including his propensity to resist and barricade himself. Briefings also informed these officers of Brown's prior criminal history and the fact that he has attained the habitual felon status. Brown acted consistent with law enforcement intelligence and actively resisted arrest and attempted to flee. Third, and most importantly, Brown posed an immediate threat to the safety of the officers and others. Mr. Brown's conduct did not merely risk injuring officers by the time of the shooting. Brown had made 2 aggressive driving moves, which caused his vehicle to contact Deputy Lunsford on both occasions. When the officers approached Brown with their guns drawn, his response was to maneuver his car and flee. Brown was undeterred by the officers yelling for him to stop, show me your hands, or by Deputy Lunsford attempting to open the driver's door. Even after backing into a corner with no escape, but to maneuver his vehicle directly at the officers, Brown continued the felonious assault by using his vehicle as a deadly weapon and made contact a second time with Deputy Lunsford. Law enforcement officers, particularly Deputy Lunsford, were on foot and directly in the path of the vehicle being operated by Brown. Lieutenant Judd was located on the corner of Roanoke Avenue and Perry in a white unmarked Crown Victoria, and Dare County officers, Sergeant Ruth and Investigator Johnson, were operating unmarked vehicles in the area to assist. All of these officers were potentially at risk from Brown's operation of the vehicle. Brown threatened the life and safety of the officers on the scene and any possible civilian bystanders, giving a reasonable officer a compelling reason to end the encounter. The law does not require officers in a tense and dangerous situation to wait until the moment a suspect uses a deadly weapon to act to stop the suspect. The shooting of Brown was justified to prevent potential harm to those living near where the incident occurred, as well as other pedestrians, support deputies, and the deputies who were in front of Mr. Brown.
Okay, let me ask y'all something. We're gonna play the video for it. I have so far not a lot of comments that are in the building or in the chat. I know I get people on Facebook who are watching me go live, so let me just see if I have some comments or questions there. But you guys notice how this man is talking. Y'all notice how he's talking, that he is not talking as it sounds damn near like a public defender, doesn't it? Hell, not even a public defender, because that's an insult even to the PDs. He sounds like he's a private attorney representing these officers. It's almost done, and I want to play the response by Andrew Brown's family. Harry Daniels is the family attorney, and I'm going to play that in a little bit as well.
Law enforcement officers are required to instantaneously evaluate and employ force against possible criminal suspects to thwart apparent dangers to citizens and themselves. Officers must perceive, evaluate, decide, and then act, often in a matter of seconds. The deputies in this case perceived a threat and immediately fired their weapon to neutralize the threat. The perceived danger to the officer must only be apparent, not actual, in order to justify the use of deadly force. Apparent danger is such that it would cause a reasonable person to believe that he or others were in danger of death or great bodily harm. Although there is evidence of actual danger to the officers, under the law, there was also apparent danger. From the evidence, it reasonably appeared to the deputies there was a sufficient basis for self-defense and defense of others. The facts in this case demonstrate the presence of apparent danger to the officers. An officer may exercise such force if he believes it to be necessary and has reasonable grounds for such belief. An officer acting in self-defense is presumed to have acted in good faith. Federal courts have held that the Constitution simply does not require police to gamble with their lives in the face of a serious threat of harm. As the United States Supreme Court has observed, the calculus of reasonableness must allow for the fact that law enforcement officers are often forced to make split-second judgments in circumstances that are tense, uncertain, and rapidly evolving. From a review of the body camera video from the scene, there is evidence that multiple shots were fired in rapid succession by 3 deputies. There is no evidence that the number of shots fired by the deputies was excessive, but even if there are an excessive number of shots, the question is whether the perceived threat has been neutralized for the safety of law enforcement officers present. In this case, the deputies used the amount of force deemed reasonably appropriate by them to neutralize a perceived threat. Based upon my review of the facts of this case, I have determined that the shooting of Andrew Brown on April 21st, 2021 was justified to protect the safety and lives of the deputies on the scene. The deputies who fired the fatal shots perceived an actual and apparent threat, evaluated the situation in seconds, decided, and acted. The deputies' actions appear reasonable under all the circumstances of the case. The deputies faced both actual danger and apparent danger as perceived by them on the scene. This apparent threat was reinforced by Brown's dangerous and felonious use of a deadly weapon. As tragic as this incident is with the loss of life, the deputies on scene were nonetheless justified in defending themselves from death or great bodily injury. There is insufficient evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to show that any of the deputies acted in a manner that was inconsistent with their perception of an apparent threat. In fact, my review of the incident indicates there is no evidence that the deputies who fired the fatal shots acted in any manner that is inconsistent with the threat they perceived, and certainly no evidence that the deputies acted in any way contrary to or in violation of North Carolina law. I appreciate the investigation by the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation's District Field Office. I have shared this conclusion with Sheriff Tommy Wooten and Special Agent in Charge Mache Rogers that no officer will be criminally charged. The officers' actions were consistent with their training and fully supported under the law in protecting their lives in this community.
All right, so let's listen to okay, you guys listen to that. Now let's listen to the TMZ. Lord knows I hate TMZ, but this is from, yeah, you said it. This guy is filthy. DA, it took all these officers to serve this warrant. Yes, he does. He does sound like he's defending their actions. All right. So this is attorney Harry Daniels. I have a friend named Harry Daniels, by the way, who's also an attorney in Louisiana. One of the best criminal defense lawyers you'd find. But this is Harry Daniels on TMZ out in North Carolina.
As far as our facts and our position, we stay strong to our position, our facts. In the video, as you can see, that the vehicle was not used as a weapon. The district attorney positions that if the vehicle is used or trying to get away, he's basically saying that you have an authorization to bring that person in no matter what. A warrant does not give a license to kill here. Mr. Brown drove between those officers. One officer pushed off of that vehicle. Now that officer he didn't shoot. He didn't discharge his weapon. The other officers that were standing at the driveway, the second driveway, they're the one who discharged his weapon. Even now, he drove towards the officers. That officer got out the way. That's argumentative. That's how you perceive it. Once he got past him, they unloaded the weapon. No threat of any officers at that time. Their own policy. He was asked a question by one of the reporters about, well, pursuant to Pascal-Tank use of force is that you don't discharge into a moving vehicle. In fact, you move out the way. Let's say Mr. Brown was going towards them. The officer moved out the way. He definitely adhered to his policy by not shooting to a moving vehicle. Then the next policy says that you do not shoot a person, a suspected or convicted felon who's fleeing. They clearly violated that. There was no threat, perception of any threat once he got past them.
Now, this is on TMZ. Notice the likes to dislikes. There's almost as many dislikes to the video as there are likes. They suspended the comments and turned them off. Of course, I can only imagine why is that you will have a lot of trolls that will try to make remarks or defend, obviously, the behavior of the police officers or try to attack them. But this was hard to, it was hard to watch, but this is something that we've become numb to. We see it all the time. They always say the shooting is justified. Shooting is justified. Shooting is always justified. It's always justified. You look at the clips. I'm trying to find clips of the videos, if I can.
Andrew Brown was shot by sheriff's deputy.
Now, I think this is CNN. I think they have it here. I don't like CNN either. But we could go ahead and look at it, see if they will show it, so you guys can take a look at some of the body camera footage. Now, keep in mind, the footage has not all been released. They have not all released it.
On him in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, the local prosecutor there out detailing, he says this shooting was justified because Andrew Brown tried to flee the scene in a car that he determined was a threat to the officers. Therefore, they had the right to use deadly force against him. We're going to show you in just a moment some of the body camera footage released at this press conference. I just want to quickly go through some of the other headlines. The district attorney saying he did not tell the Brown family before he had this announcement today that he was going to do this. He says there's some dysfunction in the relationship between the prosecutor's office and the Brown family and the attorneys, at one point accusing some of the attorneys working with the Brown family of misrepresenting facts in this case. The prosecutor also saying that the body camera footage he did show at the press briefing will now not be made public. If media organizations or anyone else wants that footage, they must go to the courts and ask for it. So we do not know. I'm about to show you about a minute-long clip of that body camera footage. I just want to make clear, this was released by the prosecutor. We are not certain of its context, its full context. It does show some of the fatal encounter between sheriff's deputies. It shows officers approaching Mr. Brown's car, shouting, "Stop." The car then starts to drive away, and the officers begin to fire. We're going to show you this. It's just shy of a minute. Just want to caution you, some of what you're about to see is quite graphic. Let's bring into our conversation to share their expertise and their insights, CNN legal analyst and civil rights attorney Ariva Barton and retired Missouri State Highway Patrol Captain Ron Johnson. Grateful for both of your time. Ariva, let me start with you. The prosecutor was insistent, at times even defiant, saying, even to the reporters in the room watching that video, said, well, to them it appeared the car was trying to turn away from the officers, that Mr. Brown was trying to flee, but not to drive into the officers. That was the perspective of the people in the room watching the video. The prosecutor was quite defiant, saying, under the law, the officers had the right to view that as a deadly threat, and therefore the 14 shots that were fired in a span of about 44 seconds, in his view, justified.
Yeah, John, I had a real problem with many of the statements made by this district attorney. First of all, he relies on this 2014 Supreme Court case, Plumhoff. And that case does involve allegations of Fourth Amendment violations. There were police officers who were shooting in a fleeing car, but that case involved a high-speed car chase. And the Supreme Court focused I shouldn't say exclusively, but focused a lot on the fact of the dangers associated with a high-speed chase. That's not the facts involved in this case in North Carolina. We don't have a high-speed chase. We have an individual who's sitting in his car who is unarmed, who they're serving a search warrant on. And we know there's so many other alternatives, including the alternatives that are identified in the use of the manual given to police officers in this state, which are like many police officer manuals that prohibit or in many ways discourage police officers from shooting into a moving vehicle. And we heard this district attorney say he's aware of those police policies, but yet he did not take them into consideration in making his determination. So lots of issues with his defiance, as you described it. I think that's appropriate. And his ultimate factual and legal determination about the justification for the shooting.
Okay. So that was CNN. I don't need that guy on here. What's up, Lamiko? Yes, Shalom, Gavin. From the prosecutor suggests if anyone wants to view the body camera footage, they would have to file a Freedom of Information request. Tells me their storyline lie is flawed. Well, here's the thing. The judge did not deny. What they did was they didn't deny access to the body camera footage. What they did was state that there would be a delay until the investigation concludes, which was 30 days from whenever gave him 30 days essentially before he would release the footage. So he chose not to release the footage. And yet the district attorney, during that time, they had to get their story straight and had to come out and do this and talk about this. Now, again, as what you heard the female attorney state on CNN, a fleeing felon rule still that only applies if the officer, it is an apparent threat that the felon that is fleeing, if you have probable cause that he is in some type of danger, that he is obviously armed, is dangerous, that there is a threat to. People are saying they're having connections. Hold on a second. Connection issues. Hold on. Shit. I don't know what's going on, but let me know if y'all can hear me. But we're going to continue monitoring this story. If you can hear me, okay, I got kicked out, so there are some connection issues right now. I know they got a storm that's passing through. But if y'all can hit me, like, share, and subscribe to this channel, please. Donate to the Cash App at the bottom. Shout out to D Nix also for his contribution earlier. I'm going to move on, guys, because like I said, I'm trying to keep it to an hour. We're going to keep monitoring this story, but man, it's more and more is to come. We'll see what will happen in the future, especially if there's any civil rights charges. The feds are supposedly investigating this situation. All right. So next I wanted to talk about this incident. So this was brought to my attention. This was coming from Bro Bibble. You guys may have remembered last week, last live stream, we talked about Kobe Bryant's induction into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. And of course, his wife, Vanessa Bryant, who you see here, she was escorted on stage by Michael Jordan. And she gave the speech, the acceptance speech for Kobe Bryant. Of course, Kobe Bryant and his daughter, Gigi, passed away in 2020, back in February, in a helicopter crash that killed 7 other individuals as well. So I said Kobe and his parents are still beefing. Apparently, this comes from Bro Bible, I should say, where she thanked. Of course, I showed the video on Saturday night. Vanessa thanked Kobe Bryant's parents and said Kobe's parents and said she had invited him to the enshrinement because that's what Kobe had wanted. She said that Kobe wanted. Uh, she said Kobe would have wanted his parents at his enshrinement into the Naismith Hall of Fame. However, there's more to the story here. So I'm going to play the
Fame to
video.
specifically add a 6th ticket for Capri. He was so happy. He didn't really talk about upcoming awards, but he did mention this one a week before he and Gigi passed. My husband and I were sitting at our kitchen island, and he and I had a conversation about my mother and father-in-law attending tonight's enshrinement. I invited my mother and father-in-law to tonight's enshrinement to thank them for bringing one of the most amazing human beings into this world. Pam and Joe, thank you for raising Kobe to be exceptional. Thank you to all of Kobe's family. Sharia, you've gone above and beyond. I love you.
All right.
Fame to specifically add a 6th ticket for.
All right. But model Anansa Sims, who is best friends with Kobe's sister, she's actually Matt Barnes' ex-wife, revealed why Pamela and Joe. I wonder if that was the one Derek Fisher was messing with, right? Yeah, we gotta be. Why Pamela and Joe were missing from the ceremony on Saturday night. After posting a message on behalf of Shia Bryant on her Instagram page, Anansa responded to a comment bashing Kobe's parents for not being at the memorial. According to Anansa, Kobe's parents chose not to attend the ceremony because they felt disrespected at his memorial and were not personally invited to the event and had no idea Kobe wanted them to go to his Hall of Fame ceremony. His parents didn't just choose not to go to the Hall of Fame. His parents were totally disrespected at the memorial. They weren't personally invited to the Hall of Fame. This is coming from the Neighborhood Talk. I've heard different stories too. Let me say this. We'll go ahead and look at the comments. But I was told that, and I read this, that if they were to come, they had to pay for their own ticket to fly out, and they had to pay for their own hotel room. They basically had to cover their own expenses to be there. So Vanessa reportedly, I just say reportedly, did not offer to pay for their hotel or their tickets or anything like that, which I guess would come off as an insult, especially if you're inviting them and you're a multi-billionaire. Anansa Sims says as follows: his parents didn't just choose not to go to the Hall of Fame. His parents were totally disrespected at his memorial. They weren't personally invited to the Hall of Fame. I heard that. I wish his parents were told that Kobe said he wanted them there just before he passed. I heard that mentioned in her speech last night. His parents should have been told that. That conversation happened. If they would have known that prior to hearing it in a Hall of Fame speech last night, I believe with all my heart that they would have attended. And I believe that would have brought them so much comfort to know that that's what was in their son's heart and mind. My heart breaks for his parents all over again. Shia wasn't invited, so she was able to stay home with her parents and comfort them. Imagine not knowing a vital conversation like that took place just 1 week before your child passed and not being told. She went on further and said, I don't know what you're talking about responding to someone. They aren't holding on to anything. They are loving, private, peaceful people. They haven't done anything to anyone. They never said one negative thing about anyone, not one public interview or article. They are simply grieving the loss of their only son. They were asked by a third party from the Hall of Fame if they wanted to purchase tickets to the Hall of Fame. Purchase. It was made clear that tickets, flights, and hotel accommodations wouldn't be taken care of. They are amazing, dedicated grandparents to the grandchildren that they are allowed to see. With all of that said, I believe they would have purchased the tickets they were offered had they known he said he would want them there. They would do anything for their son and all their grandkids. That's the kind of people that they are and have always been. Now, I believe this is just my personal opinion. Now, I know Kobe and his parents have had issues uh, in the past. I think there have been issues, especially with Kobe marrying Vanessa at the age that he did. I believe they met when he was, had to have been when he was a teenager when they started dating and when they got married. I also know that they had issues, I think, stuff with selling his memorabilia and so forth. Kobe didn't like it. So I had heard those rumors before. But nevertheless, when you're talking about family, nobody hates more than family. Family always got beef. And it's sad, you know, it's sad that it happens because what she's saying is true. And Anansa, what she's saying is absolutely true. They were disrespected at that memorial. Nobody mentioned them, I think, with the exception of Snoop Dogg. Now, Snoop, I don't think, spoke at the memorial, but he acknowledged them. And Shaq acknowledged Kobe's parents after the funeral. But that whole memorial that was put on, and they had Jimmy Kimmel hosting, and this is a problem I had. They did not say thank you or acknowledge to his parents or his sisters. You got to remember something. Regardless of what you go into this life, your mother and father, you only have one mother, you only have one father. And the first people you learn from, your first teachers, your first educators are your parents. I can't speak necessarily for what took place in Kobe's relationship with his parents. That's something private between them. But don't y'all think, for the sake of closure and normalcy and just staying on code as a family, I would not drag my late husband or my wife, if this was my wife who had passed, I wouldn't drag my late spouse family through the mud and just diss them like that. There's no way I would have done something like this. I would have acknowledged them. I certainly would have had them, say something, be there at the Hall of Fame to show that we're united. Unsunken One says you keep getting booted out. That's because they know you're going to make some jokes about Vanessa Bryant again. Motherfucker, you probably sliding in them DMs. But man, Unsunken One was going wild with Vanessa. He said that have any of Kobe's teammates slid in them DMs yet from Vanessa. I'm sure they've shot this. I'm sure after a few months they've shot this shot at her. But, in a situation like that, again, these are still Kobe's parents. I think that they should squash whatever they got going on, or at least for the public's sake, so everybody knows that the family at least is together and they're doing good. Whatever happens, and for appearances and so forth, at least says it keeps going to error. You know, you guys are not the only ones I've seen that happen to today, because I saw on Fly Nubian Queen, and that was going on when I was trying to go to Jade Arundel's live stream earlier, and I noticed I was getting an error message. So I don't know what's going on here, but YouTube is, y'all are messing up with my channel. All right. It says buffering. It says, I don't know what's going on, guys. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Okay. Can y'all hear me? If you can. Okay. All right. See, I don't know what's going on. It's something dealing with YouTube, but on my end, when I'm looking on Facebook, I can hear myself fine. It looks like everything is normal, and I don't know what's going on with it. Dwayne said, "Why not comply with the officers you're talking about earlier?" Well, yeah, you can comply with it, but yeah, I'm not saying that he should have fled, but does that warrant a death sentence? You know, like I was saying, but like I said earlier, a fleeing felon rule that only applies again if you have probable cause that the person is a dangerous threat. Now, yes, they mentioned his criminal history and so forth, and yeah, that all factors in. But at that moment, when you looked at the car and saw the video, the car wasn't speeding when he turned. But I know how they try and get around it and so forth, so that happens. I'm trying to answer your questions. So you guys are saying the stream is buffering. Ah, jeez. YouTube is doing something to it. YouTube. All right. Tell me what y'all think of this. I'm gonna go into my next. All right, y'all are having issues with buffering. I don't understand what's going on. YouTube is fucking up with my stream tonight, man. I'm pissed off. I'm real ticked off with this. Okay. We're going to try and let me see if I can go. I mean, people can hear me. If you're on Facebook, I don't have maybe one person on Facebook that can hear me, but YouTube streamers, y'all are having some issues. Rosalind says it's working now. All right. But yeah, but y'all let me know what y'all think of Kobe Bryant's widow and so forth, Vanessa Bryant and his parents. I certainly think I wish that they could have squashed something like this and been on one accord. Certainly, you know, a year, certainly, and especially, it's been over a year since Kobe and Gigi's death. You would think that the parents would get along, but that doesn't happen, especially when you have a situation where your only son dies, and on top of that, all of the money that he's going to be getting is left to his wife. So there's something to think about. But it's unfortunate that that happened. But man, to not invite your parent, your in-laws, not even to get them tickets or pay for their expenses, stay at the whole same hotel where you're at. See, I'm cut differently. My parents, the way that they were, if there was something that went down, wherever we went, especially if when my grandfather was still alive, my cousins, my great auntie, if we all were going somewhere, we didn't all stay in the same room, but we all made sure everybody could stay in the same hotel, so we were all together. If we had to go, I remember when my cousin graduated from Clark Atlanta University, we all booked the same hotel, stayed in the same hotel, went out together. We all stayed together as a family. Things are different, though. People are different. All right. So I wanted to talk about this. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about tonight since I'm having some streaming issues, but we're going to touch on it. And that was the situation with your Symone Sanders and your Tamika Mallory. Now, you all know who this is. Yes, this is Magic Johnson's son. No, yeah, this is Magic Johnson's son, EJ, star of the new Proud Family. No, this is Symone Sanders. Somebody showed me a picture of Symone Sanders before the crop haircut. That's Symone Sanders. That's what she looked at like when she was the National Youth Chair Coalition of Juvenile Justice. Completely different. Completely different. But Symone Sanders was hurt, according to Black Enterprise article, that she did not get the press secretary role under Joe Biden. Let me just read this comment for a second. So Pilot says her speech sounded like a prayer to me. She thanked Kobe like he was blessing her with opportunities. I think they put her up to that. In my opinion, it seemed like she was just talking like she was a girlfriend. So it sounded like according to what you say, like she was just grateful that she got all the benefits. Pilot. Well, look, 4 years with the same man, 4 children by him, all girls. They're all going to grow up privileged. They're all going to have money. Vanessa's going to be taken care of. Yeah, Kobe was responsible for it. He did bless him. He did bless him. And, let's talk about him making him the logo for the NBA. I'm going to get back to the topic in a second. I just want to say this. That probably will not fly because all you're going to hear, and this is just what they do, is about the fact that Kobe Bryant was a rapist. Kobe Bryant had all of his rape charge dismissed, but he actually paid this girl off. He paid his people off, which is all the bullshit. That's not what happened. But that's all you're going to hear for the next, I don't know, if they make him the logo of the NBA. Jerry West is the logo for the NBA now, the great Lakers star. I think that they would certainly just keep doing that over and over again. So I don't think it's a good idea, but for that reason alone. But I certainly, we say to hell with the white supremacist. I certainly don't care for that shit, but it is what it is. So Symone Sanders, let's get back to Symone. Y'all know she was the national press secretary for Bernie Sanders during his 2016 campaign. And Back in 2019, when Joe Biden was campaigning for president, was running his campaign, she switched sides and started to go with Joe Biden. Now, she is now butthurt over the fact that she did not get that nomination, did not get that job offer. And that came from a Washington Post feature on Sanders and her fiance, DC's Director of Culture and Nightlife, Sean Townsend, unearthed Sanders' feelings of being stunned after Biden chose former Obama Communications Director Jen Psaki for the press secretary job, The Hill reports. Bakari Sellers was the one who confirmed the senior advisor to Vice President Harris. Yeah, Symone Sanders is the senior advisor to President Harris. So she has a job already. I don't understand why. I thought you guys could see it. I just don't understand why she's upset. But I guess she wanted to be out front and center with everyone because she thought she would get some opportunities. She says here, Sanders worked in the last two presidential elections, including campaigning for Senator Bernie Sanders in the 2016 election before working as an advisor on President Biden's 2020 presidential campaign. She stood by his side and publicly defended him after Biden's controversial comments, telling the black community that if they didn't vote for him, then you ain't black. She put this tweet out. Let's put it out here. Vice President Biden spent his career fighting alongside for the African American community. He won his party's nomination by earning every vote and meeting people where they are, and that's exactly what he intends to do this November. Yeah. She further stated the comments were made at the end of the Breakfast Club interview were in jest, but let's be clear about what the VP was saying. He was making the distinction that he would put his record with the African American community up against Trump's any day, period. No, he was not. No, he was not. You know better. He was not. Bullshit. She didn't know the ledge. She went from 2016 working with Bernie Sanders, 2020 working with Joe Biden, doing his press as his press secretary at that time, as an advisor. And she worked as an advisor for Sanders, then working as an advisor on Biden's campaign, and also doubling for him as a bodyguard. When he had those protesters come on stage and she tackled them like Ray Lewis. In her memoir, Sanders has admitted to wanting to become the first black press secretary. Sellers' revelations come 1 week after Psaki announced her plans to step down from the press secretary role next year. But with Sanders working as Kamala Harris' senior advisor, she told the Post, "She is happy where I am and what I'm doing," adding that it's keeping me very, very busy. But you see, this is what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you are basically trying to get them butter biscuits and you go to massa and you go to the man to get something and it doesn't pan out how you want. Cooning, never, ever, and this also applies to Tamika Mallory. I'll get on her in a second. It never, ever works. Never has, never will. No matter what you do for an individual, and especially when you try to defend Joe Biden's record, when you look at his record and don't even address the crimes bills that he had enacted as a senator, out of Delaware. Don't even talk about the fact that while he was vice president, what laws did he propose with President Barack Obama as to what he would specifically do for the black community? The laws, what did he do in his 8 years as vice president that was going to be any different in the 4 years if he serves 4 years as president currently? Yet you tell us, well, he's better than Trump. That's not how this works. That's not how politics works. You see how, ladies and gentlemen, every group right now, from LGBTQ, from Asian Americans, I mean, damn, Asian Americans got their own month now, month of May. I never knew about AAPI month. They're already gearing up for Pride Month. Do you know that Kellogg's cereal is going to have a fruit Pride Month cereal? They want to fill your mouth with pride and something else. I don't want to know what's in that cereal. I'll stick to oatmeal. All of these groups that are getting all of these benefits, and you can't even get any of these senators, any of these congressmen, not the president, to talk about reparations. Propose a reparations bill. Push something on the floor. How long are you going to keep saying, let's wait our turn? And all of the other people that were supporting Joe Biden telling you, you need to just go ahead and vote. You're Amanda Seals, who's, I've never seen her. Her ass ain't even that fucking funny. I don't know how she gets a job other than on looks. Because she's a she's a DJ, she's a comedian. She's the one that falsely accused, I think, that brother of sexual harassment. He was a football player. I think it was Symone, if I'm not mistaken. You also had, but she came out, Amanda Seals, saying how she was ashamed to have supported Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris made her remarks about how America is not a racist country. You reap what you sow. You take this out. This is what you wanted. This is what happens when you fail to do research. Remember at the Grammy Awards when Tamika Mallory gave that speech, President Biden, we demand justice. Y'all remember that? But then she goes on the Breakfast Club. Hold on. Y'all remember this? She called out Joe Biden at the Grammys. Then again, Joe Biden wasn't watching. It was after 8. Honestly, I don't know if a lot of people were watching anyway. The Grammys sucked. They had the lowest viewership in history. Same thing with the Oscars. I don't know how the MTV Movie and TV Awards did. I mean, y'all know the Golden Globes. They're canceling it next year. They're not going to air it on NBC. Now they're claiming they're not airing it, of course, and I did a video on that last week with our brother Sean James. As a result of diversity issues, they're criticizing the Emmy Awards for lack of diversity, for the Golden Globe Awards. Excuse me. Tom Cruise is talking about giving up his awards, but hell, if it were that serious, they would have done it a long time ago because it was never diverse. Y'all remember this, but then I showed you all the video of Tamika Mallory that Vicky Dillard put up. And Sister Vicky gave that work.
Don't challenge that. Okay, Tamika, this is the reason why you be getting criticized, sis. Because people don't know what kind of world you're living in. And then people want to play victim.
Stuff like he was on point in a lot of ways. And a lot of folks were like, oh, that's right. Biden hasn't done this or that. Well, I would challenge that there has been.
Who black is out here saying Joe Biden has done anything for us? What black person is going on the record saying that today? But the poop pigs.
He's done. Okay, so that's first of all. And one of them is that $5 billion is now being allotted for violence.
Who's out here caping for Zaddy Joe Biden? Who is defending this fool? I don't understand, Tamika, why are you out here doing this? This is the reason why people be saying it's a scam and y'all Democrats first, you ain't be one first. This don't make sense. What is you talking about? Not what are you? What is you talking about?
And at the center of the conversation is black folks, because they had Erica Ford and others at the White House sitting in the Rose Garden, and they have.
I already showed y'all who Erica Ford was, and she looked like Cornel West's big sister. Cornel West.
Opened up several city agencies.
So because Joe Biden invite black people to the White House, you want us to construe that as something substantive for black people? Your mentor, the Reverend Al Sharpton, who needs to go eat, has been having access to the White House for a long time. We've got nothing done, Tamika. What are you talking about? Kamala is alleged to be black, even though she go back and forth with whether she's all the way Asian or black. She's the vice president. Black folk they hadn't received the level up. We had a whole black president for almost a decade. For 8 years, nothing.
Right. For 8 years, you had a black president. You also had 2 black attorney generals, supposed black attorney generals. What did you get out of that? Tamika? Symone, what did you get, ladies? What did you honestly get? Be honest, what did you get out of that? Symone, if you supported Bernie Sanders back in 2016 when Hillary Clinton was running, you obviously didn't think much of Hillary Clinton. And of course, Barack Obama endorsed your Hillary Clinton. So you knew, I know you know for a fact, you were not impressed with the Democratic machine. Tamika needs to go, obviously she's busy writing books and so forth. You look at this here. Her new book is entitled State of Emergency. It is, especially if you are our so-called leaders. These are not leaders, ladies and gentlemen. These are just people with a platform that can speak. Nobody picked Tamika Mallory to be my leader. And when you see the foreword is written by Angela Davis and Cardi B, that says enough. You got Cardi B writing the foreword. I don't know how you even understand it. How does that start off? Brr, brr. Okay, let me tell you. See, like Tamika is like the future because everything is good. We just don't want the cops to shoot us. I don't know. That's how Cardi talks to me. I could be. That's not the best impression. You got Miss WAP writing a forward. And that's their right. Yeah. I don't mind you making your hustle, baby. But don't do it off of our backs. And you got Angela Davis, and Angela Davis, my understanding, she's gone full les, pro LGBTQ with all of the stuff she's been promoting as of recently. I remember when our sister, I know people who knew Angela Davis because Angela Davis actually had come to New Orleans. She spoke at, colleges like Xavier, for instance. Yeah, and Angela Davis was beautiful sister. Let me see if I can find some. She's a pretty cute sister, but she's gone full pro LGBTQ. See, why can't they go? Why can't it be just a straight blackness? Why are you doing this intersectionality stuff? Yeah, in 1997, she came out as a lesbian. She was married previously from 1980 to 1983 to Hilton Braithwaite. Her life partner is Gina Dent. I'm trying to see what this Gina Dent looks like. Let's see if we can find it. That's her. But notice what it says. Celebrate. Okay, so this is her girlfriend. She's younger than Angela, just from looking at it. But look what the title of the YouTube page is: Celebrating Black Feminism. That's all you need to know. That's all I need to know. Cooning does not work. This intersectionality thing is failing the Black community. It does not help us. So, lessons that we can learn, ladies and gentlemen. We learned several lessons from this. Number one, go out and build your own. When you rely on others, I don't care whether they're white or black, you will disappoint yourself because you're going to let yourself down when they don't come through. That always happens. You're begging for a handout and job that's not going to come, and you are disappointed that when it doesn't come, and when the man, after all you've done, and a man doesn't give you what you want. The man doesn't give you what you want. You bet on Biden and herself. You bet on Biden thinking you were going to get something, and it didn't happen. You played yourself. You played yourself with this. This is an actual, as I'm talking to you guys, I'm looking at this article right here. This comes from the Moguldom Nation, Moguldom Nation. Loyal Democrat Symone Sanders feels hurt, but Steve Jobs of mass incarceration didn't give her top press job. Boo. Moguldom. Yeah, she defended essentially the same stuff I've said here. She defended him from, and that's when she tackled that protester, the Steve Jobs of mass incarceration. Damn. That's a powerful truth. All right. The other lesson we can learn, ladies and gentlemen, is that we have to rely on ourselves. We have no friends, we have no allies in this race. Even if you do have some allies with you, those allies are only there to get what they want out of you. And after they're finished, they have no use for you. That is a typical situation we find ourselves as Black people when we go and try and get our certain rights, what we think are our rights, we get used by others. And so people like Tamika Mallory, and I'm just going to say, remember when Tamika had that commercial with Cadillac? You know, she used it as a come up. And I don't care, you know, her mother even clapped back at her, Tamir Rice's mother, clapped back at her for this. You had people like Masson, I don't even know who the fuck that is, but people like her, like him. I think he's a rapper. I don't really and honestly follow a lot of the stuff that I see, you know, a lot of the celebrities like Cardi B. I don't follow Masson. I don't follow many of the guys that you see on here, Bobby Shmurda. I don't follow those guys. Never paid any interest with them. Here's Tamika with that commercial. Now, I can't find this commercial. If you try to look for this commercial online, you can't find it. I have looked high and dry for it, and I could not find this commercial for Cadillac. It's not even on their YouTube page. Now, I'm not against people trying to make their business and so forth. I'm not against the sister for trying to make her money if she needs to, but damn. It's exactly like Samira Rice said. You're doing it on the bodies of Black men. They are not leaders. Stop. That's another lesson we can learn. Just because somebody has a platform does not make them a leader. Who picks these Negroes? I certainly didn't. You didn't. They may have a bigger platform than what I have here. I have you all on YouTube. I have you all on Facebook. That's about it. This is my platform. Do I get monies from it? No. But if I'm going out here giving you guys the news, the scoop, and you're passing it along to others and other people are getting it, that's payment in and of itself. To come on this channel and talk real and not be filtered and not hide what my true feelings about certain things, because I'm done hiding. We all should be done hiding. We have as much right to express ourselves as anyone else. So this is my platform. So nobody speaks for Gavin Reshaw. I didn't appoint Sharpton, and that's enough. I didn't appoint Sharpton. I didn't appoint Jesse to represent me. I didn't even, and this is all due respect, I didn't even appoint Minister Farrakhan. Of course, I agree with many talking points that he says, not everything. But this is the stuff we deal with every day. So everybody that gets in front of a microphone, guys, they do not speak for us. Do not let them tell you that this is your leader. They're not. And I think when you look at new black media, when I look at the people in my comments now, I look at Pilot Storm, I look at Rosalind, I look at Lucius Gaines, I look at Black Mama, I look at Lamiko, Donald Washington, all of you, Steve Mack, Vulcan. I look at all of you. You guys obviously are frustrated by what you see in the mainstream, which is why you come to new black media. It's why you go to a Sean James. It's why you go to a Nicole's View, a Harvey Superboy, Drew Story News, Ron Hurd of We All Be News, any of these people, because you are frustrated. TD Hip Hop, shout out to him. Y'all know what's going down. Tamika Rosalind, she's part of that Al Sharpton clique. And y'all know Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton essentially, that's the cooler, as Ron calls him. He calls him the cooler because every time Al Sharpton comes on or comes out, his job is to cool the audience. People are frustrated. You're exactly right. They're disgusted by the BS that's being portrayed in mainstream media. So we learn those lessons, ladies and gentlemen. And when you learn these lessons, you grow a little bit wiser and you'll know what to do from then on. So with that being said, I said I was going to keep it under an hour. I actually went over that. It's an hour and 22 minutes. Guys, it's been a long day for me. If I was stumbling around a little bit, my bad. But you guys, I will be back this Thursday to do another live stream. Of course, tune in with our brother Sean James. We're going to be talking a bunch of things that's going on. Might have a couple other special guests stop by. But you guys be safe and be blessed. I ask you to please donate to the channel, the Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire. We're going to figure out what's going on with this live stream, but I think they've been buffering or messing with the channel. If it keeps buffering like this, I have not had a problem until recently when I've come on here with something like that. And I saw all of you in the comments saying buffering, and I saw my views being taken away. That's never happened before. In truthfulness, I've never had a situation like this. So I'll get to the bottom of it. But again, y'all have been, thank you. Y'all have been here for a while. Y'all subscribe to the YouTube channels, Gbu2786 and Gavin Richard. Also, I need you to please donate to that Cash App, Gavin Richard Esquire. Gavin Richard Esquire. You see it right there. Please donate. Donate. That's the only way we're going to grow. I ask you also to subscribe to some of the other YouTubers like Nicole's View, like Sean James, like Taisha Essex, Dwan B. Shout out to my brother Dwan B, because he shouted me out in my live stream. I'm shouting him back out. Rosalind, I appreciate you, baby. That is in Rosalind. I know you're not 8 years old in that picture. That's your school. It's a school picture, a third grade picture. But shout out to everybody that's been here with me from the beginning. You've all been supportive of me. Y'all be safe, be blessed. I'll be back Thursday with another live stream. Again, I can't stress enough the importance of supporting the channel so that we can keep this content growing, and you can see more of it. So whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. This has been another edition of Gavin Richard Presents on channel GBoo2786, on Gavin Richard or Gavin Rich 2786 on Twitter and on Facebook, Gavin Richard. I was correct. It is Rosalind's third grade picture. Yes. All right, guys. I got the pop quiz of the day. I holla. All right. Love y'all. Peace.